These hikers found more than a great view and a good Instagram pic. Here are the top 5 terrifying things hikers found in the woods. Number 5 on this list is the Midnight Town. A hiker in the deep woods came upon what looked to be a small gathering or town at midnight where there really shouldn't have been one. Thought Catalog says, I go hiking in the woods that permeate my town, sometimes so late that I get to see the sun rise out there. The strangest thing that I ever saw was what I could only describe as a shanty town that was built up seemingly overnight deep into the woods. Simple little hovels made of scrap metal and bed sheets and a small fire pit that somebody had made out of an old tire with the fire still burning. But that wasn't the weirdest part. The weird part was that this was well past midnight when I found this place and it was quiet as a grave. There was no one there. Someone made the trouble of getting a fire going and then left it. From the look of it, this place could hold about a dozen or so people, and yet there was nothing there but the fire they abandoned and whatever possessions they had left in the shanties. So this obviously raises a ton of questions, I think. First off, how was this built as quickly as it was? Apparently this guy travels around this area often and he is familiar with it. So obviously he would have seen this shanty town if it was here before. Therefore, how did it get put up so fast? Second question, who put it up and what was the purpose of it? If this was a gathering of homeless people to live, then that might make sense. It wouldn't explain how it got put up here as fast as it did, but it would at least explain the purpose for it being here. Living in Toronto, you see these kind of shanty town things in parks sometimes, and it almost feels as if they just appeared there out of thin air sometimes because they can get put up so fast. So I could buy into that explanation, but then there's the last question. And the one that makes all of this not make any sense. Where are the people now? If this was a town for the homeless, then one would imagine that they would still be there. They aren't there now, so where are they? Could they have stepped away for a little while? Unlikely, considering the fire is still going, and that would have been 12 odd people all going to one place at once, leaving their makeshift home. No. If I was to wager a guess, then what he stumbled onto, was some sort of ritualistic sacrifice thing. They performed their ceremony and then they left. Or maybe they got transported to another realm or something like that, and that's why they aren't there now. None of the more realistic explanations make any sense, so I would wager that it's something like that. Number 4 on this list is the figure. I think moral of this video, if you could take away one thing, is to not go hiking at nighttime. One hiker learned his lesson in this next story. Thought Catalog says, I drove to a park to go hiking at night in the mountains. So safe, I know. And I hadn't even turned off my car and I already felt like I was being watched. There weren't any cars around, so I thought maybe it was just me being paranoid for some reason. But for some reason, I look to my right and I see this weird looking humanoid shape on top of the little bump hill about 50 feet away. At first, I thought it was a weirdly shaped tree until I saw the arms move. No wind at all. So now I know there's a person staring at my car, trying not to move for what I assume is for me to get out of my car and leave to a more secluded area as we were next to the road. Now in this story, our hiker doesn't get attacked or chased away, just stalked. But the reason I included it in this video is because this reminds me a lot of a creature that we've talked about extensively on this channel before. The skinwalker. They like to chill around forest and mountainy areas. They like to stalk their prey, and it feels as if they almost take pleasure in having people fear them. I think that's what this guy almost ran into. I think that had he gotten out of that car, that literally would have been the last thing he did. He didn't get out of his vehicle and decided to drive away after realizing he was in danger. But thank goodness his spidey senses were tingling and he noticed that figure, or else that could have been it. Number 3 on this list is the werewolf. Now, I don't know if this next story is of a werewolf or not, so I need you guys to be the judges and comment down below what you think it is. Thought Catalog says, I was in Syria on a visit from Australia back in the late 90s. I saw 2 dogs in the distance about 30 meters away, lit up by a bright moon. They had faces that looked human. I seriously froze. They walked up to about 10 meters away and looked totally flippin' human. One of them growled, so I fired off a round and they ran away. I immediately headed back home looking over my shoulder the entire way. I told my aunt what I saw and the house erupted in laughter. It was some local ghost story. Everyone had an encounter with them at one stage or another. Now, it's possible that these things could have been skinwalkers as well as that previous encounter, but for some reason I'm thinking werewolf. Like, our guy here seems to really be sticking to the fact that it was a dog-like thing. If I saw a werewolf, then that would probably be a sticking point for me as well. It's also funny though that this was a local ghost story, keyword being ghost. Werewolves and skinwalkers wouldn't be classified as ghosts, they would be creatures. So whatever these things are, werewolf, skinwalker, or other, it's definitely weird. Let me know in the comments if you guys know what this thing could have been. Number 2 on this list is the light. A lot of times, ghosts and spiritual entities like to appear as orbs of light. In this next story, I think that's what happens. Thought Catalog says, hiking in central Maine near the 100-mile wilderness section of the AT, about as thinly populated as you can get in the lower 48. Wife and I pull up to the trailhead at about 2 a.m. after a long drive and epic storms and decide to catch a few Z's before hitting the trail at sunrise. After settling in, we notice a blinking light on a distant mountain. There's no illumination for miles and miles in any direction, so it sticks out immediately and we comment on it likely being the only radio tower for 50 miles. Then the light starts slowly moving down the hill. It's maybe a couple miles off and we both get interested. We figure it must be some truly insane coming down the mountain in the darkest part of night with a headlamp. And the blinking is when a tree obscures line of sight. It keeps coming and picks up speed, and at this point we start to make casual jokes that it's coming right towards us. I can't remember how long we had the car's lights off, but at this point we turn them back on as we're starting to feel a little creepy. We watch the light come down the hill, covering the couple miles in a minute, maybe 2. Then it's right outside, about 20 feet off the ground and blinking. We grab a flashlight to try to see what it is, but can see nothing. It's just a blinking light about the brightness of a dim street light appearing every few seconds. It hovers there for around 20 minutes, then was suddenly gone. Now, I can't say for sure, but I bet that that light was a spirit, and that spirit was trying to warn these people about something. Maybe that hill or mountain they were near, maybe something's not quite right about that place, and this spirit was telling them to stay away. Either that, or it was getting angry at them for being there. Whatever way you spin it though, I think our friends needed to get out of there. And number 1 on this list is the body. The woods, being a secluded area with no one around, make them the perfect spot for hiking and getting away. They're also the perfect spot for hiding a body. Well, that's what hiker Anderson found out in the woods of British Columbia. He was hiking around in a very remote section of the woods, somewhere he would have imagined not a ton of people would go, and something caught the corner of his eye. It was a shiny glimmer, and he went towards it. His focus fixed onto it, and what he was looking at was a human finger with a ring on it, and the ring was glimmering in the sun. He called the police immediately, and sure enough, there was a human corpse right there. At first, he was hoping that this was just an accidental death and that the person had maybe slipped while hiking or something. But that wasn't the case. Foul play was definitely involved after the coroner had a look at it, which means that Anderson found the body of a murder victim, which then also means that the area he was hiking in, for all he knows, could have been the hunting grounds for this killer. Obviously, that tainted the entire area for him, and he never went hiking in that spot again. Well, there you have it, folks. That is our list of the top 5 terrifying things hikers found in the woods. Please let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this list and some other scary things hikers have found that you guys know about. Also, please hit the like and subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching. I've been your host, Nicholas Playlog, and I'll catch you next time.